Okay. Thank you, Alan, for getting us on air. Council, staff, welcome to Wednesday, September 13th, 2023. The meeting is called to order at 1:31. Today's meeting is being held as a hybrid meeting. The meeting will be streamed live as well as recorded and published on the Southwest Middlesex YouTube channel. Before we begin, we will give a land acknowledgement. We begin this gathering by acknowledging that the land upon which we meet is a traditional territory of First Nations people who have a long-standing relationship with the land, water, and region of Southwest Middlesex. The nations along the banks of the Thames include the Chippewa of the Thames, Oneida Nation of the Thames, Munsee Delaware Nation, and Delaware Nation of Moraviantown. We convey our respect to our Indigenous neighbors and thank them for their contributions to our culture, our community, our past, and partnerships of the future. We acknowledge that this is the beginning of a process, and we commit to a continued journey of listening, learning, and building relationships. I encourage all our citizens to take time for a moment of reflection on September 30th in observance of the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation, an important step in the reconciliation process. This day provides an opportunity to recognize and commemorate the tragic history and ongoing legacy of residential schools and to honor survivors, their families, and communities. Council, is there any disclosure of pecuniary nature or the interest thereof? Seeing none, we'll move on to number 3. The agenda has been circulated. Are there any additions? Seeing none, Council, the chair will entertain a mover and a seconder to adopt the agenda as circulated. Thank you, Councillor Choi. Seconder for that, please. Councillor McGill. Called vote, all in favor? Carried. The consent agenda has been circulated. There are 3 items under provincial, 1 under municipal correspondence, and a couple under Southwest Middlesex. Does any council member wish those pulled to discuss later on in the agenda? Failing which, the chair will entertain a motion to receive the consent agendas for information. Is there a mover? Councillor Vink, seconder. Deputy Mayor Scholdice. All in favor? Carried. Okay, that's good. Yeah, I've been advised that there are no delegations. Public. Oh, yes. Alan.
Your worship, we do have a delegation here today.
Okay, you bet. At what point of the agenda are they coming forward?
We were right at it a second ago, so we're gonna go to that portion if that's okay with you.
Yep, that'll be fine. Okay,
Fantastic.
go ahead.
Do we have Jamie Lynn?
Yes,
Pitcher?
I do see that. Yeah, by gosh, I'm sorry I missed that. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Are they with us live or on Zoom?
Your worship, the delegation unfortunately is not here at this moment.
Okay, Alan, can we table that for a future council meeting? I don't like to see him lose his opportunity, so to speak.
Absolutely, your worship.
Okay, so we'll defer that to another meeting, and we'll give the ratepayer consideration down the road. Consent agenda we have. No public meetings. Staff reports are next. Kevin, we have you on deck for 8A regarding the reallocation of funds. Would you like to walk us through this?
I got it there. Thank you. Yes, I had some quotes brought in to do some decorative fencing in front of the arena. We had some extra funds left over out of the paving of the arena parking lot. So with the extra leftover funds, we're looking at doing a new fence in front of the arena along the sidewalk at the edge of the parking lot, and then replacing the fencing down field A of the soccer fields.
Okay. Council, are there, this is an opportunity to ask Kevin questions on this. We're under budget on the pavement, and certainly, Mike, if you wish to weigh in on this, you certainly can as well.
Yeah, I'll try to, Your Worship. Thank you for that. So the paving in the parking lot came in substantially less, obviously $53,000 under budget from what was anticipated from our budgeting spring. The fencing that was surrounding the property that we own proper for the arena was removed, obviously, to do the paving. If it was done after, we would have had a problem down the road. There seems to be an appetite to put that fencing back. So $26,000 of that is direct decorative iron type fencing that would go across the front of the arena onto Mill Street and then go in toward the building corners of the arena and kind of cap it off at ends for each. The balance of that cost of $15,000 was to rewire the fence from the corner of the rear driveway all the way down Mill Street, as Kevin had mentioned. So if there's an appetite for that, we can certainly help there. I will make a notation, Your Worship, and I appreciate this, is that the parking lot was debentured over quite some time. And the fencing that would go onto the property that the arena is on would be the lifespan of that debenture. It would last that long. But I can't speak to the fencing that's beyond that, if that's in appetite for council to consider.
Okay, so council, as I understand it, we can look at this as a fencing as a whole, or we could segment this into two projects. The decorative from the, I presume, Kevin, the regular fencing along the roadway is chain link. Is that correct?
The parking lot would be the decorative, and then down field A is chain link, correct?
That was my assumption. Okay, council, any questions you would like to ask Kevin? Or would you like to direct them to Mike? Yes, Council McCollum.
Yes,
Go ahead.
to the chair here. I don't know who this should be appointed to, but wasn't that budgeted out? It was budgeted out for $205,000, but wasn't there 3 quotes come in on that? And why was there $53,000 left over off of 3 quotes? And we took the lowest quote.
I'll jump in on that, Your Worship, if I can. Mara's looking at me during the headlight look, but there was a substantial change to the scope of the work of the project. The rear part of the driveway was done as part of the initial quote, and council elected to take that part out. They didn't want to do that part. And the bids that we received, we went with, I believe, the lowest. And then when they repriced it out for us and renegotiated, they came in substantially less with the lesser pavement, of course, that was initially scoped for the project during budget.
Yes, go ahead, Mauro.
If I can add to that, yeah, so there was when council directed staff to adjust the paving, we did do a change order, and based on that change order, the value did come in lower, which eliminated those sections of payments in the back area and the side area.
Okay. Yes, Councillor McGill, go ahead.
Yeah, through the chair, then, so my understanding of it is then all the paving that was done is on property that is owned by Southwest Middlesex. And originally it had been proposed to do a strip across I call it the back of the arena, in between the arena and the bleachers. And that would have actually been on Fairboard land.
To Your Worship, that is 100% correct.
And
Yep, Paul.
yeah,
Mark, go
and
ahead, please.
so originally I didn't vote in favor of the paving because I didn't like the idea of paying a paving of a parking lot off over borrowing money and paying it off over 18 years. But since the paving has been done and I've driven by there, I can see we need a fence. So I will support the idea of putting a fence across in front of the arena and continuing the fence on down Mill Street, because after the cedar hedge was torn out and it was really overgrown, it would have been almost impossible to trim it back and get it looking right. You can see that the fence that's in behind where the cedar hedge was, it's heaved out of the ground. It's kind of rusty. So yeah, it should be replaced too. But just what would be the total cost of approximately of doing both those pieces of fence? And is that within the scope of the, was it 53,000 we had left?
53,000. Yeah, that's correct.
Just save Kevin some time here. So yes, there would be $41,000 to do those two sections of fence, and I believe the balance would be returned to reserves.
Yes, go ahead, Mark.
So I know the hedge was overgrown, hadn't been trimmed for quite a while, but I do think it would look better if we planted a new hedge along there, because then the people that, for one thing, the people that live down Mill Street, it would block their view of, for example, there's a storage container there. Doesn't look very nice along the fence. And I would it be possible? I want to see what the other members of the council think if we added into this, doing the fence and also replanting a new hedge.
Okay, so a couple things I'll try to help here is one, we have a recommendation as it stands. If you want to modify that recommendation and use the additional dollars that are available, that's certainly council's pleasure. I would have said if there was no other dollars that we bring it back as a proposal at budget time for consideration as well, but it's council's pleasure what they'd like to do with this.
Okay, Mark, you're finished. Go ahead, Councillor Haggett.
The only thing I see with the hedge is the rec department is stretched
Mhm.
to the limit.
Mhm.
And we're just gonna put more work on them for now than put a hedge in there. Like the rec department is coming, they're doing a great job, but a lot of people do not realize that they go to Appin, Melbourne, Middlemas, Glencoe, Wardsville, and we still don't have a full complement of rec department. We need more people. So it's one thing to take in mind. That's what happened to the hedge in the beginning with. We couldn't look after it, it rotted and died. That's just my
Yeah.
opinion.
Dick,
I think we could wait on.
yeah, it would, a new hedge would take substantial watering to get established as well. So there would be some time spent there. Yes, Councillor Vink, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Mayor Allen. I will be voting against the new fencing. Of course, we spent over $6 million on the arena. That money was for paving. In my estimation, that money should go into the Tower TIP fund or into most of the township reserves that were taken out and used in other areas of the area of the Southwest Mill Center.
I might add, yes, we've heard that before, Mark, and yeah, I'm sure I will. I think you have to have some gate control in that facility too, and I think the only way you're going to get gate control is to have that fence. If there's no fence, people are going to be walking through. It would be almost physically impossible to have any gate revenue control on that if that fence wasn't there. I mean, people would just walk across the grass, get into the fair, get into the tractor pulls, get into any other event that they may be hosting. So it is, I think, of major importance to have that type of security. Mark, you spoke of this. Are you prepared to make that a motion?
Well, I just want to see if I get a few more comments. I don't want to add the hedge in if it's going to make it so it doesn't carry at all. But as far as our facility and rec department working hard, yes, I know they have a lot of work to do, but I think things like hedge trimming could be contracted out at a very low cost. there's companies that do that kind of work all the time, and it wouldn't take them long. So I do agree with what the mayor said though about the watering. Initially, depending on what kind of a summer you got, there could be a lot of work to getting that hedge established. So maybe I'll just move the recommendation as it stands,
Okay,
just the fencing.
and we can look at the other, perhaps at budget time when such things can be discussed. And Councillor Choi?
Thank you. I agree to go ahead with the fencing and then move the remaining funds into reserves and talk about it at budget time. I would like to see, and I'm sure there will be ideas for indoor recreation at the arena once completed. So I think some of those funds could possibly go into setting up that programming and offering different things in our own facility.
Okay, thank you. There's a motion on the floor. I do require, yes, Alan.
Thank you, Worship. Was Councillor Choi's comments constituting a second?
I'm going to find that out right now. Okay, yep. Councillor Choi, I require a seconder for that. Will you second that?
I'll say.
Okay, thank you. All right, discussion, any further discussion? Yes, Deputy Mayor Schuldice.
Thank you, Mayor, maybe through the chair to Kevin. I'm just wondering if you could tell us what the fence is going to look like, what style it is, how tall it is, and how will it be fastened where we've got the asphalt there? How does it get installed there?
I believe they will be cementing it in, so they will be drilling the hole down in. And I believe it's going to be a 4-foot fence, the ornamental fence, and then the chain link is going to be 5 feet, the same height as what it is now down Mill Street.
Okay, good. Yeah, thank you.
Jump in. So the library fencing, the iron fencing that's over there, same stuff.
Okay, thank you. Good to know.
Yep. Yes, I see Councillor McGill's hand has been raised. Are there any others prior to Councillor McGill? Okay, go ahead, Mark.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My only concern with this motion, the way it's worded now, is we're talking about putting the excess money into reserve. Maybe I'm nitpicking, but how can we put the excess money into reserve when that money was never collected through taxes? This is money we had originally agreed at budget time to borrow and put towards the paving. So there really is no money extra to put into reserve, in my opinion.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Thank
Our
you.
CAO answer
Thank
that.
you. Thank you, Your Worship. I don't believe the whole amount was debentured. I think there was a portion of it that was. And if it was, there will be a corrective measure taken, but that is what instruction has been come through the treasurer in her absence. So that's the best answer I can give you, but I don't think the entire amount was debentured. I think there was a portion that was coming from reserves. We will validate that and make the corrective measures as necessary.
Okay, last call for questions. Seeing none, the chair will call. All in favor of the recommendation? All opposed? Okay, carried. Kevin, thank you very much for that report. Administration 8B, Gateway Signs of Wardsville. Mike Henry, can you lead us off in this?
I can, Your Worship. It's been a while. I wrote this report last time. We had deferred to this meeting. So there's a few things with this. Pictures are worth 1,000 words, as always, Mr. Mayor, is the signage was approved at budget. And during budget, there was an amount of $30,000 that was allocated for signage in the first community in the municipality of Wardsville. These would go at either end of the east and west side. This is the design that we narrowed down to that was within the affordability of that range. And we did end up coming in under budget, which I believe they're about $24,000 and change. If my glasses are on. Yeah, 24,800 before HST. And to answer some of the questions that have come in on this, they would go at the east and west side, set back from the village accordingly with the urban boundary. They would be put in with a cement base, and Any of the logoing as approved by council would go on there. Any wording that the council would like to see on there can go on there. And we've left the sign pretty generically blank for consideration. It's just the style we're looking to get moving ahead with the vendor.
Okay, thank you very much. Counselor, are there any questions you'd like to ask the CAO through the chair? Counselor Vink, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mayor Allen. First question, I have a couple of comments too, but the first question is, when I see $30,000, I thought when we were voting on that, that would be for all the signs for the different areas, not just for one center.
So during budget, we did set aside $15,000 per sign, and what council agreed upon was doing 2 signs in the first year, and then we would carry on with the communities down the run and eventually get caught up with everybody having signage.
That's how the chair recalls it as well.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, and I think Wardsville was chosen first. Is heavily trafficked on Longwoods Road. Yeah,
Yeah,
follow up, Martin, go ahead.
Sure, I have comments. I will be voting against this. I had a phone call from someone from Exeter Township yesterday saying, you know, we gotta start reducing our spending here. And this is a lot of money. You gotta look at, well, almost 25,000. And then you're gonna have Glencoe, and then you're gonna have Melbourne, Afton, maybe Millinas, and maybe something else. And well, that's a lot of money. And then we have to have, again, rec department to look after the computer signage. And somebody else told me that when the fire department goes by these signs, they affect the frequency of the fire calls. So that was another thing that I'm sure it's only a few feet, but anyway, it's a cost, and our economy is going down now. You know, I have people that are in the real estate business that I know, and houses are going down, and this is luxury spending that we don't need. If we need new signs, new wooden signs, that's fine. I'm all for that, but elaborate signs like this, first of all, also that we're accentuating all the individual villages and all that. We should be accentuating Southwest Middlesex, not trying to get all these little domains. And so that's also a problem with this. That's my opinion.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. There's a couple of points I'd like to make. One, I have always said, even early campaign days, that we should never lose the name Wardsville, Appin, Glencoe, Melbourne. Those names are part of our history, and collectively we form Southwest Middlesex, but we are made up of those municipalities. And I'll hand the conversation over to the CAO, but it's my understanding that these are static signs, and I'll let you expand on that, Mike Henry.
Yeah, you are correct, Your Worship. They are just static signs. There's no illumination in them. There's no backlight. There's no digital. There's no LED. There's no scrolling data. They're just static. They're just a vinyl, steel, aluminum type structure that goes on a slab of concrete. There would be no maintenance around it. We wouldn't propose to put any of that. It's similar to what you would see if you went to Middlesex Center or Tim Center or Strathroy, what they have. It's not anything that has any electronics in it, if you will. Just sort of wanted to clarify that for you.
Okay. Any other questions? Yes, Councilor McGill, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Mayhew. I'd just like to agree with Councillor Vink's comments. And I'd also like to add, if you look in the background, it looks like Amy and I were really in favor of doing these community entrance signs. I won't speak for Amy, but for myself, I just didn't want to debenture these signs. And so that's why I seconded that motion. Originally, the idea at budget time was to debenture it, and I think it was maybe 150,000. And so we cut it back to putting in the tax collection 30,000. for 1 year and then possibly continuing that over 5 years, and that'd be the 150. But also, I'm gonna pull up the picture here again. And I did get one comment from somebody else besides myself. They didn't like the picture. And I don't really like the picture either. Like the person said to me, what decade are those two people from? It looks like maybe the 1920s.
Yeah.
You know?
So I'm sorry, they're not on the sign. They're just to give you an idea of scale of how big the signs are.
Oh, you mean, oh, that's not part of the sign. Okay, well, that
You don't
helps.
like the golf knickers, eh?
Yeah.
No, I didn't
Okay, so
either.
the sign is, okay, I can see the arrows here now.
Yeah.
The sign is just the part on the left,
Yeah.
welcome to Wardsville. And then it's just blank down below where originally it had said, discover life pure and simple.
We're looking at a structure. Yeah, it's without them, yeah. And that's the concrete work and everything in there. The signage is expensive. It's not cheap, and that's why we have to go at it in modest amounts. Councillor Choi, please go ahead.
Thank you. And I just wanted to ask the question, I think Councillor McGill just touched on it. The initial report initially had discover life pure and simple along the bottom, and we're leaving that blank right now. Why?
The time being, that's anything that would go on that sign would be council's decision to do so. We didn't think it was prudent to put that on there because it's up to council to tell us what to put on the sign. That could simply say welcome. That could say pure and simple. That could say anything you want it to say. But it's not on there just in consideration of everything else on the agenda as well.
Yeah, I think I think I'm a strong believer in marketing, and if we're going to sell the number of houses that we need to sell to increase our assessment rather than increase our taxes, I think you have to be quite welcoming to people moving into a new community. And I think Wardsville, I think, has got tremendous growth potential, being where it is and the amount of land mass. And I look forward, I hope that councils in the future, when they do their planning review, that Wardsville will be front and center for additional development. Okay. Yes, Councillor McCollum, sorry, I missed your hand there, Don.
Yes, through the chair here. What are we gonna do in Melbourne there? With entrance on both sides of, where are we putting the signs there? We're gonna get help from Strawberry Caradoc or what? It's a split village there.
Yep, good question, and I'm sure it has been on staff's minds. Mike, would you like to address that? Or?
Yeah, I think we cross that bridge when we come to it. We haven't approved these ones yet. And we did in principle, set $30,000 in to get these ones done. When we get there, we can talk about whether they're at the east or they're at the north and south there. That would make logical sense. I would say probably coming in from the south and from the east would be the two logical points to go with there, because you're actually coming in to the municipality at that point, or the community at that point. But that's council's pleasure again to discuss at budget time. If you want 3 signs there, well, then we have to propose a different costing measure. It is cheaper the more signs you go, I can tell you that. But for the time being, I think we just cross that bridge when we come to it, when we get to that point.
Okay. Yes, Councillor Vink, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Allen. Before we vote, I just want to point out that I'm not against new signs. I'm just not in favor of these signs. Wooden signs, ones that we have now, are plenty good.
Okay. Deputy Mayor Schuldice.
I'd just like to mention that the color of this sign seems to be the same as the county. And I thought the purpose was having something different from the county. So I don't think I can support this right now. I'd like to have council have more details of what's going to go on and what the actual options are before we make a decision.
It's a fair comment. The colors associated with this may not be reflective of your actual screen display, but they are the blue, green, and orange that are in the Southwest logo.
Yeah.
Yours are not the same as the mayor's or
No.
the same as mine.
Yeah.
But it's a good point. Totally understood. totally taken the comment, but they are intended to be the orange, blue and green that are in the Southwest approved logo.
Logo. And I think there will be modifications in this as they go along, and staff will, I'm sure, will advise council of this. We have got a price we can accept in principle moving ahead with this as under we have passed this in the budget, and it has been approved. But in terms of the minute details on this sign, I'm sure Mike Henry would not object to keeping council informed along the way as we find out the sign. Amy, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Like Councilor McGill said, we did pass this through budget. And my thought process was I didn't want to debenture $150,000 over 5 years. I also agree with the deputy mayor's comments on the color scheme, and it does blend in very much with the signs that are already there. But I do question, and I wonder if $30,000 in each community could go a different way. I could see, like, I'd love everything great and positive for Wardsville, but I think the community could spend that money differently rather than just a sign or a couple signs, sorry. So I'm not sure I won't be supporting this one.
Okay. What's the duration, the life duration of these signs, Mike?
Well, these are easily up for 20 to 30 years. And the only comment I'll make here is this doesn't affect staff either way, whether you go ahead with this or don't go ahead with this. But I think maybe not passing it at budget would have been the first step for us not to even go through this process, because this has been taxing on Kevin to go back and forth with the supplier, myself to give him the supplier that I knew, and talk to some of the other communities out there that have these signs on how we can get them put there. So if it wasn't the intention of council to go through with things, we'd ask politely that maybe that budget they don't get passed or put in, or the money gets redirected then, because it was set aside. We were sent to look at this, and then now we're here, but that's neither here nor there.
And to repeat, if there are objections about color, we can address those prior to in the process of working with the supplier. I think those challenges could be overcome merely through communication between council members and staff. And so, council, we have talked about this. What is your wish? Is there a mover and a seconder for this? Chair will call again. Is there a mover and a seconder for this? Okay, the chair will be bold enough to move the motion. We'll see if we can get a second. Okay. Fine, it's been moved and seconded. And council, we certainly respect your opinions on this. So there's no feeling of animosity among any of us here. It's just to move forward on this, and staff will know what direction to go, and perhaps how to put it forth again. It's been moved and seconded. Alan, you're okay with this?
Yes, your worship.
Okay, thank you. Okay, just checking. All right, I'll call the vote. All in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? Carried. Okay. Oh, yes, Alan, go ahead.
Your worship, at this point in time, we may wish to invite just accepting the report for information.
Okay, we can do that. Regarding the gateway signs, would there be a mover and a seconder that the report be received for information purposes only? Okay, Councillor Choi, Councillor Vink. All in favor? Oh, yes, go ahead.
Sorry, I should have my hand up. I did. What is the purpose?
Through your worship to the deputy mayor, when we receive for information, it becomes record that we can use in the future.
I thought the first motion would have been enough, but you still.
Through your worship again, yes, so when we did not pass that motion, that included accepting for information.
Thank you.
Okay, is Andrew with us today on Zoom? Does he want to, or is it necessary, or? Okay, all right. Drainage 8C, Court of Revision on the Moore Goff Drain. Yes. Okay, you bet. Okay. Yeah, you bet. Yeah. Okay, no problem. We're receiving this for information. All in favor? Carried. There is a court of revision that will involve Adelaide Metcalf as well as Southwest Middlesex, and 8C pertains to this. In Andrew absence, Mike, do you want to? Alan, you
Your
got it?
worship, if I
Yeah.
may, so this one, this is prescribed by the Drainage Act. So these are the rules that we have to follow for this particular
Okay.
court of revision. So we need 2 members of council, one of which will preside during the court, along with the mayor of Adelaide Metcalf. So right now we need to choose 2 people and somebody's going to preside.
Okay, thank you. I chatted with Sue Clark, Mayor of Adelaide Metcalf, yesterday at County Council regarding this, and I would be very willing to go on that court of revision and act as chair, if that's acceptable to council. I'm looking at the surnames here. The Moore Goff Drain. Is this an Eckford drain? Mark, is it? It's an Eckford drain, I take it.
Yep,
from the
I
surnames?
know where it is. Yeah, I would volunteer to go on the court of revision if council so chooses.
I certainly would endorse that as well. So is there a resolution that Mayor Mayhew, Councillor Mark McGill, sit on the court of revision? Yes. Okay, thank you, Martin. Yeah, we got you. Yeah. Yeah,
I'll second.
okay, it's seconded by Deputy Mayor Schuldice. Questions? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you, Council. Mark, thank you for your volunteerism there. Notice of motion. In respect to municipal branding. Deputy Mayor, I think you led this. Would you like to walk us into this?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Mayhew. When the new logo and slogan came before the last council, I don't recall there being much excitement about any of the options. I voted against it, and I know others were torn when they approved it. There has been significant public commenting, and not always in a positive way. But I'd really like to hear what other council members have to say on this.
Okay, thank you. Perhaps I can lead off. Would you be kind enough to take the gavel? Yeah. No, any notice of motion is always respected, and I think discussion is too. I have chatted to staff. We have heard the phraseology that Catherine, could you get me a glass of water, please? Thank you very much. I hate to ask it. Yeah, and it's hard to go in reverse. As many of you know, I had reservations about this. But when I look at the finished product, I have become accustomed to it. On that committee, there were 20 people on that committee. And some of those people held stellar management jobs in marketing with the Agricultural Society, Milk Marketing Board. They brought with them good qualifications. Thank you. And it was a good committee. We have often said we want community participation. I don't think there has ever been a committee in the past that has had that much municipal participation on the electorate level. And the cost of going in reverse now, from my dialogue with our CAO and his dialogue with Kristen, that we're looking at the tune of a cost of approximately $60,000 to change this at this point. which is not money well spent. And I remind everyone here, council, staff, and even those in the gallery, that by coming here today, you are pumping the provincial slogan, Discover Ontario, or, Discover Ontario, and yours to discover. Yours to discover is on every plate in that parking lot right now. We're following suit in some way with Southwest Middlesex. And in the competitive world of housing, in soliciting industry, in soliciting businesses, branding is exceptionally important. And so as much as I respect everyone's right for a notice of motion, I would not support a change at this time. Thank you very much. Councillor Haggett, go ahead.
Well, I personally do not like the pure and simple on that sign. As far as the logo, it's nice. We live with that, but I'd like to see the pure and simple gone. Whether it just takes time to go down the road and take it off. But I personally don't like the pure and simple, and I would like to see it gone. Thank you.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Allen. I completely agree with what Councillor Haggett stated. It's not something that we would have to change all the letterhead right away. Pure and simple is a copycat from Michigan. I'm a Detroit Red Wings fan. And so I follow things in Michigan somewhat. And that's their slogan, pure and simple. So, I mean, it was just a copycat. And someplace special means something. Discover life pure and simple and doesn't mean too much. So I'm completely in favor of what Councillor Haggett stated.
Thank you, Your Worship. I realize this is just a procedural comment, but we really should get a second before we continue the conversation any further.
Who moved it?
The Deputy Mayor, Your
Okay.
Worship.
Is there a seconder for this? Councillor Haggett? Carry on, Martin. Sorry to interrupt you.
I was finished, Mayor Allen.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Yes, go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Mayhew. I originally voted against this, the logo and the slogan. I think it was a 5-3 vote. 5 councillors voted in favor, and it was me and Martin Vink and Mike Scholdice that voted against. But that's the way it goes sometimes. You don't win them all. So we've gone this far. I think we've gone too far to go back. There was a lot of public consultation. There was a lot of people from the community involved with picking that new logo and slogan. And some people were concerned about the cost. Well, as the mayor said, there would be a cost to go back. So the people that were concerned with the cost to change, then they'd be upset again if we went back to something else or changed to something else already. So I didn't originally support the logo or the slogan, but there was a petition too, and I think they got a petition against the new slogan and logo, and I think they got about 500 signatures, and there's less than 500 voters in Southwest Middlesex. So that's a significant number of people, but it's less than 10%. What else was I going to say? One more thing. I just think we should maybe we've put the logo on too many things. For example, the logo was on, every basket of flowers had the name of who sponsored that basket of flowers. And the donors' names are fairly small, and then the logo's on there. I didn't think we needed to put the logo on there. We could have put the donors' names bigger. But then, and I did have somebody mention that to me, but to change all those signs to take the logo off, there'd be a cost to that, right? So just, and I did tell people, because originally there was people that thought, oh, we were gonna repaint the water tower, and how much is that gonna cost? Just to change the logo and the slogan, and I'm hoping going forward, we'll only change the logo and slogan as things need repainted. Like we wouldn't spend a huge amount of money to repaint the water tower just to change the.
Well, I don't think that was ever considered.
No, I don't think it was either. So, yeah, I guess that's all my comments.
Okay, yes, Councillor Haggett.
So how'd you come up with the $60,000? I mean, if we let it run its course, we're not spending any more money. We're just taking that off. Taking that forward.
So it's fairly evident in our municipality right now what our logo, what our slogan is. And we're marketing daily. I'm not sure how staff would handle that. I have not had that discussion with Mike Henry, but it would certainly be burdensome. I can see from a marketing standpoint, it would be quite burdensome. Yes, would you like to chime in?
I will.
Good.
Okay, thank you. So there's a couple things. If you want to look at how that would happen is one, what I would recommend is if you just want to discontinue use of the slogan and the logo, you're more than welcome to do so. That's council's pleasure. Please direct us on how you'd like to have that happen. If you want to go to something else, well, then the shift to go to something else, dead stop what you're doing and go to something new, that would be about $60,000 to $80,000. If you're just going to phase it out, come back with something else down the road. It doesn't, much like the gateway signs, wouldn't have to be bought all at once, but you could do it that way. There's also a looming strategic plan that needs to happen here. And I would say that if you're going to do your strategic plan, branding is something that can be done at the same time in conjunction with that. I'm just speaking factually. I'm not telling anybody that's what you should do, but those are your dead stop, 60 to 80, phase out, cost less. And that's as simple as that.
Councillor Choi.
Thank you, Mayor Mayhew. I will not be supporting this one. There was a tremendous amount of community input, like you said, community members, some staff, I believe, some council members were part of it. I know it was a fantastic process, not perfect, but it was a long process and a lot of people were providing their opinion on different things. I don't believe this was the slogan that sat with me. I think I chose a different one, but in the grand scheme of things, it was voted on through that committee. And this is what the community members had wanted at the time. So I believe we should be moving forward with it.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Mayhew. I'd just like to point out, we only had 3 options at the time. It wasn't like we were receiving any submission from the public. Options. Best of 3 poor choices.
Yes, I think they were, we submitted, I think the committee members submitted suggestions on that as part of the, it was a working process, had some cohesion with the providers of the academics of this. I can recall submitting numerous taglines.
Can I just have a quick follow-up?
Yep.
Thank you, Mayor Mayhew. Just to be clear, it was just the slogan, not the logo. I was prepared to leave the logo as it is. It's just moving forward. If we could go with just the logo and just don't go with the slogan.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying that. Councillor Choi, please go ahead. Thanks for your patience.
Thank you. I attended every session that I was invited to. I was very happy to, and I wanted to hear what community members wanted to say about all the different options. And at the time, I believe there were actually 10 options that we started with at least, and dwindled down to say the top 3. But so it's not that there were 3 to begin with, but during the process, which took quite a long time, we just dwindled down to these top ones, with this one obviously being the one that the community voted on, the community members voted on.
Okay, we'll wrap this questioning up. Chair will call the question. Last call? Okay, all in favor of supporting the notice of motion? All opposed? Motion is carried.
Thank you. And I'd just like to say I appreciate everybody's comment on this. I wanted to hear what everybody had to say. So, thank you.
Okay, next on the list, and Mike Henry, correct me if I'm wrong here. We've got through 9A, we're going to 9B, reconsideration of a request for a statutory holiday. This is being, who is leading this off? One of the counselors, or is it the administration?
I'll sort of get a jump started if you can.
Okay.
So on August 23rd, obviously, we know we've had a lot going on that day.
Yeah.
2 councillors had to leave the regularly scheduled meeting. So pursuant to procedural bylaw 2019-104, members as of the time of voting may table a motion to reconsider. There's a bit of a process here. I'm going to turn that process over to Alan because his math always screws me up. So I'll let him tell you and he'll be clear about it.
Go ahead, Alan.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you to the council. When it comes to these reconsiderations, the initial mover must be somebody who is in the presiding side of the original resolution or somebody who is absent. To provide an open and transparent process for the public, I received the motions of reconsideration via using the notice of motion mechanism, so that we could have it there for the council to be prepared to have a conversation. With that, both of the reconsiderations on this agenda will require a second. That can actually be anybody on council, now that we've established somebody who was not present, or on the presiding side has moved it. With that, once we have a second, and this one's going to be a little complex, we have to only discuss why we are reconsidering. We're not discussing the issue at hand. We're discussing why we should reconsider. And then at that point in time, there will be a vote, and we must have 2/3, which will be 6. And then if that passes, then we go back and we reconsider the motion and actually talk about everything that's involved with it.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So our first order of business then is to, for council to reconsider the resolution. Is that correct?
The first action would be asking for a second to Councillor Edmire's moving of reconsideration for the National Truth and Reconciliation.
Okay. And Ed, you're moving that, are you?
Yes, I am.
Okay, the chair understands. Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Haggett? Anyone wish to speak on this? Okay, yes, Mark, Councilman Gill, please go ahead.
Yeah, through the mayor to our clerk, just to make 100% sure I'm understanding this correctly. If this motion to reconsider the pass is going to take 6 votes in favor, but then if it hit, that's correct, right?
Through the mayor to the councillor, if we achieve 6 votes right now, then we can discuss the item. And then once when we're discussing the item, then it's only going to be a majority. But if we want to talk about it, we need 6.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. Wise move, Mike. Wise move. Okay. Yeah, the atmosphere was rather peculiar that night. No question about it during that storm. And I was telling the gentleman that we did not know why you left. I know both of you have responsibilities at the county, and we just thought you got called out on work. And many of us at the table, if not all of us, weren't aware of the amount of rain. We knew it was raining hard. We didn't think it was a catastrophic proportion without the windows being closed. Okay, it has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Yes. Deputy Mayor
Thank you,
Schultes.
Mayor Mayhew. Out of respect to the 2 councillors that were absent for this, I will be supporting this simply because it was a tied vote. and their vote could change the result of this, and I'd like to have them to have the opportunity to vote on this.
Okay, the chair will call the question. All in favor of the reconsideration, please raise your hand. All opposed? Okay, it's carried. Okay. And Alan, we are now looking at motions coming forth. We've got the reconsideration done. And council's direction, if you could give it to us now, we will give us a paraphrase the recommendation of what would be coming forward if it was.
Okay, your worship, just give me one moment. I need to find the exact word. Okay, your worship. So what would happen right now is we're at a point where we're considering the motion that was tabled before. And that motion is that the report supporting national truth and reconciliation be received for information, and that council approve the additional National Day for Truth and Reconciliation as a municipal statutory holiday annually on September 30th. So that is the motion on the table
Okay.
right now. You can have a discussion.
Okay, that is as Alan dictated. We'll certainly open it up to discussion. Just some clarification on this. The county, Mike, I don't believe have that as a statutory holiday. Is that correct?
The county do not have it as a statutory holiday. The ones that do are outlined in the report. The province have gone with 4 unions on this. I've learned the province themselves are now taking it, but not downloading to the lower tier.
Okay, good. Okay, so the decision is in our hands. Council, would anyone like to speak to it? Yes, Martin.
I'm asking for a recorded vote.
Yes, go ahead, Councilor McGill.
I'd just like to hear the comments from the 2 councillors that had to leave at our last meeting and how they feel about this, why they wanted it reconsidered. I'm assuming they both wanted it reconsidered.
Well, Mayor, when we were the 23rd of August was quite a night, so I knew that this was coming up, and of course we had to leave, and I would have voted for this, so it should be recognized. Thank you.
Well, obviously, you know, we left, and I'm in favor of this, obviously. They're on our borders, the native lands are all around us, all in Middlesex County. And I think we give them the holiday and respect them. So that's my opinion. Thank you.
Any further comment? I think that for those who voted against it at that meeting, I don't think the word is respect was lost there. I think there was conversations that we have bargaining units that I think the words were expressed that it is inevitable that this day will be a municipal holiday at some point in time. And I said those words, it is inevitable. But as part of a bargaining process, as has been accustomed in the past, it was certainly not because of any lack of respect for Indigenous neighbors. I can assure you that. Yes, Councillor Baker. Oh, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you. I'd just like to say that I agree with what the mayor just said. There is no lack of respect intended here whatsoever. We'd just like to point out that the vast majority of our ratepayers do not get this holiday.
Okay, yes, Martin.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Al. I just want to reiterate what you stated. I did state that we've already had an agreement with our outside workers earlier this year. And so this is a negotiation situation. This is another bonus. And also this reconciliation day is on Saturday this year. So nobody is going to be not able to attend any sort of situation. So that's another reason to vote against it.
Okay. Yes, Councillor Choi, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, we should all know that there are people in the community that do want to pay tribute, do want the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. And Councillor Fink, you know, you've received the same email that I did, the mayor did as well, focusing on what Ingersoll has done, trying to implement the 94 calls to action in their town. So there are ratepayers that do want this implemented, and that is one of the 94 calls to action. So I will again support this one.
Any further comments? Yes, Councilor McCollum.
Yes, so this means there's gonna be another holiday for the employees that's gonna happen to have a holiday on Monday. Means that if this year it'll be the 2nd of October. So that's one Monday, and then the following Monday will be off again for Thanksgiving. So that's 2 holidays. For 1 month, or come back the other way too, it'll be 2 in September.
Mhm.
So the office is closed quite a bit of the time now. So I'll be voting.
Okay, yes, Councillor Vink.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate another point that I remember from the report. And I don't want to single anybody out, but in that report, it says that it doesn't cost the taxpayers any money. Well, I completely disagree with that. Anybody's working for Southwest Middlesex is going to be paid for that day. And so it does cost the taxpayers money.
Okay. Any other questions? Been moved and seconded. Chair will call the vote. Oh, yes.
Your worship, there has been a request for a recorded vote.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. As with last recorded votes, the clerk is going left to right from the clerk's position, with the mayor being the last vote. So the first councillor on record will be Ed Myers.
Support.
The
Support.
third will be Martin Vink. The fourth will be Mike Scholdice.
No.
The fifth will be Don McCollum.
No,
The sixth will be Mark McGill.
Yes.
The seventh will be Amy Choi.
Yes.
And the final will be Mayor Alan Mayhew.
It's pretty much a tie at this point. I will vote yes in this case.
Your worship, the resolution is passed.
Okay. Died here just a minute. Okay. Glencoe Agricultural Society, I believe, is next on our agenda. And this is also for reconsideration. Who's speaking to this? You are? Okay, go ahead, Councillor Haggett.
I'm not asking for anybody to change their vote, but I just have some things to say that I think ratepayers need to hear. And, do I have to wait to address that?
Through your worship to the councillor, yes, this conversation is only about why we should have the conversation.
Okay, so phrase it in that language, and we've got patience. Jody, why do you have reservations about it? What are your feelings?
Yeah, basically, we were here that night and I'd like to speak to it. I'm not asking anybody to change their vote, but I have some things that I think I'd like to stay on behalf of ratepayers.
Yes, go ahead.
Your worship, now that we've had it formally tabled by councillor Haga, we will need a second to continue even with the conversation.
Need a seconder for that?
Yes, your worship.
Okay, that's fine. Yes, well, that's not a problem. Seconding that, Mark? Okay, go ahead. Thank you. Seconded by Councilor McGill. Okay, go ahead, Jody. Good to go.
Well, first, just to start off, I'd just like to thank all staff inside now for last Wednesday, for the flooding and everything they've been doing.
Yep.
I'm sorry, your worship. To have an actual conversation about it, we're going to need 6 out of 8.
Okay. Oh, that's good call. Yeah.
So we're having a conversation whether we discuss it.
Okay, so we do need, there's majority on this issue. It's been moved and seconded. The chair will call the question. All in favor?
I'd like to ask a question first before I vote.
Your worship, that is an appropriate point of order.
All right, go ahead.
All we're voting for is to have a discussion.
Yes,
Is that correct?
that is correct. Okay. Okay.
Well, I'm always willing for someone, or usually willing for someone to have a discussion, so.
Okay, your question has been answered. Any further questions? Okay, the chair will call the question. In order to pass, we require a 2/3 majority. All in favor? All opposed? Motion's carried.
Through the mayor, thank you very much. I just, like I said at the start here, so I'd like to thank outside, inside staff for last time. They do a terrific job with that flooding and they're still working hard at it. So I think they should be recognized because everybody went through a whole lot of crap. Anyways, I want to start with the contract. And I don't know if everybody's read the Egg Society contract. It's a one-way contract. And 20 years to me is unacceptable. I don't think it should be any longer than the life of a council term. For that reason, new people coming in might have something else in mind. Bear with me. Then I mean, we do not own that property. Ratepayers need to know that we do not own the ball diamond. We do not own the soccer fields. But we look after it. And it's a lot of taxpayers' dollars that go towards something that we do not own, or the ratepayers don't. I'd like to ask a question about the Project 2000 building, which is going to take substantial money to bring up to today's standards. Can we get grants on that, on land we don't own?
That is a legitimate question. I would say that would be, it's really no. It is something we can work with the association in trying to obtain a grant and idea of how to come across that. But if we don't own it, no, there's not really a way to get a grant for it. If you're asking me specifically about costs for upgrade, that building alone would minimally need about $150,000 to make it even compliant with today's standards.
Thank you. So under that contract, the way I read it, and correct me if I'm wrong, we're on the hook. So the ratepayers are going to have to top up that money for that Project 2000 building.
Unless there was a service club or somebody come to the table to help assist with that, that would be correct based on the maintenance agreement that is in place with the Agricultural Society.
Okay. And so I'm not, don't get me wrong, I'm not against the Agricultural Society. I'm not against the fair. I'm not against the tractor pull. But like for 2 weeks, there was no soccer for the kids. And back in the time when this all happened, I thought it was for youth. So I don't know where somewhere along the line how this has been. And I think as a council of Southwest Middlesex, I owe it to the ratepayers. We got to stop looking like this and we got to look like this. Because in the next few years, we're going to have a whole bunch of people moving in here. And youth is big and children are big. So I think I'd like to see a committee or sit down with the Agricultural Society and we need to redo this contract. We need to look at it for our ratepayers. And they need to know that we are divulging a lot of their dollars into a piece of property that we don't own or they don't. And our rec workers, again, we're short-staffed and I get it. But when they takes their time for 2 weeks to go pick something up for the kids to get back playing, not only the people that manage soccer, they got to go back to their people and say there's no game. But I think we need to get together as a group, whether it's a couple councilors, the deputy mayor, the CAO, the Ag Society, but we got to do a better job for the ratepayers. And that's my personal opinion. Otherwise, we go get our own ball field and our own soccer fields. Because we're going to need more rec department people in place. And that's just my opinion. That's all I want to say. I'm not asking anybody to change their vote. But if you didn't read the contract, you should read it. And I think the public I think the people that pay their taxes and support need to know this. Okay. Thank you for your time.
Okay.
That's all I want.
One, duplicating sporting venues, I don't think is a good thing nor a good suggestion. But Alan, I'm going to ask you a question.
Yes, Your Worship. At this point in time, if you're injecting something that is not purely factual, you may wish to pass the gavel to the deputy mayor.
Okay, it is factual. The recommendation, did it not say that staff be directed to speak to the terms of the agreement with the Agricultural Society? Was the motion that they could negotiate with them?
That is
Yes.
right here. I can read it for him. Sorry, Alan, I'm sorry. I just have it open. So it was that the report reviewing the Glencoe Agricultural Agreement with Southwest Middlesex be received for information, and that council direct the chief administrative officer to negotiate with the Glencoe Agricultural Society toward an alternative agreement option is the exact recommendation.
And that is how I recall the motion as well, Alan. And that's why I bring it forward. That I would like our administration to have that opportunity to enter those discussions and then come back to council and divulge their findings and their alternative suggestions that and we can assure the Ag Society that those discussions with our CAO and administrative team will be cordial. Are there any other comments? Councillor Vink, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Al. As far as the building on by the ballpark, I'm thinking that the same rules do not apply if it's owned by somebody else. I believe, I don't know the acronym AODE or whatever that, so those rules shouldn't really apply to that building if we don't own it.
Public venue and the Agricultural Society have to make sure that they're washing their plant, things like that. So, but I'll let the CAO perhaps better versed in that.
Yeah, this is a unique situation because we are in an agreement, so we take on the operations of that, if you will. Therefore, we are on the hook to make sure that it has all those components that it is. It has all those things available to the public that use them because we are actually the leaseholder by way of agreement. If I could help council cut through some red tape here. I see Catherine is here. We've had an ongoing communication over a number of things, as have Kevin and I. So I guess what the idea was behind this was that we would negotiate. And I want to be clear, it's not to say go get out of the contract. Legally, we have an agreement. It's to see if there can be an alternate agreement come up with or some sort of option to be had. There wasn't anything of this to go and dramatically change it because we may legally not be able to. plain and simple. It does have a review period, Catherine, every 5 years, I believe, in there to sit down and have discussion. We just maybe looked to open that up a little bit sooner, and I think that was the intention of the spirit of this recommendation.
So then the chair can ask the CAO, those discussions are still ongoing.
We're constantly back and forth with whatever we can do to help every situation for both organizations. We just want to find something here that maybe could be in agreement with both moving forward. As again, per council's consideration and decision, we would bring it back for those considerations.
Yeah, Councillor Vink, thanks for your patience, Mark.
Okay, yep, no problem. Mayor Allen, well, maybe we could have Catherine sit up here and ask her if she would be in agreement with having a committee to talk this over.
Is it necessary? I think. Yeah. No. The dialogue is going to be between their president and our CAO, and that she can bring her administration forth. We have our administration, the Fair Board have their administration, and collectively those two will discuss future avenues. I don't think it's necessary, and I don't like putting people on the spot. And she does not have her full executive with her to consult at this time either. I saw two hands here. Amy, go ahead, please, Councillor Choi.
Thank you. I voted the way that I did last time because there is a review period. And I think at that point in time is when we can discuss these things and hopefully have a resolution that's beneficial for everybody, with our needs and the ratepayers' needs taken care of as well. So I will stick with what we initially voted on.
Mark, I see your hand there.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Mayhew. What Amy said was some of what I was going to say, but I'll just add a few things. Yeah. If it's going to be reviewed and after 5 years, the agreement was made in 2019, so 5 years is 2024. So that's coming right up, so we can review it then. A little farther down in the report from Mike Henry, it says $17,000 annually. Well, maybe I'm nitpicking again, but I believe in 2019, it was $16,000 annually, plus a cost of living increase every year. So it changes every year. It goes up every year. And I was always, at budget time, I never said anything, but that money is shown under grants and donations. The way I feel, it really isn't a grant or a donation. We're giving them that money for services rendered because they're providing us, for one thing, with a community center for Southwest Middlesex. And if they weren't doing that, we would probably want to have our own building, which would cost us a lot more money than $17,000 a year. For example, when there's a stag and doe, then our staff would have to be in there cleaning up after. Now it's the Fair Board's people that are in there cleaning up after, and they can make some money off the stag and doe because they can run the bar, but the municipality can't run a bar, I don't think. So we'd just be renting the building out at a loss, and then somebody else would be running the bar, maybe the Fair Board or Lions or somebody like that, maybe the people that were hosting the stag and doe. So no, I don't really think we don't really give them a grant at all. We're giving them money for a service provided.
Okay, go ahead, Councillor Hagan. I see your hand.
I didn't know Glyco for Southwest Middlesex had a community center. That's the agriculture. Where's the community center in Glencoe? There's not.
In lieu of not having one. I think what Councillor McGill was inferring was in lieu of not having a center that we own in Glencoe, that we rely on that on the Agricultural Society's building. I think, Mark, is that the intent? Okay. Any further questions? And there's a recommendation. The recommendation of August 23rd is in front of me now, and just to reiterate that, the last paragraph of the recommendation was that the chief administrator officer to negotiate with the Glencoe Agricultural Society towards an alternate agreement option. And that will take some time for administration to bring back. But we know they're busy, but council can expect that coming back. So how would you wish to proceed? Is it status quo until we get that report back? Or are there any motions coming forward to give council new direction? I think we have a motion on. Okay, all right, reread the motion, yeah.
Thank you, Worship. So we're currently reconsidering that the report reviewing the Glencoe Agricultural Agreement with Southwest Middlesex be received for information, and that council direct the chief administrative officer to negotiate with the Glencoe Agricultural Society toward an alternative agreement option that is tabled.
That's my understanding. Okay, good. Is there a mover and a seconder for this? Okay, Councillor Myers, Councillor Haggett, questions? Yeah.
Did we miss a vote?
Did we miss a vote?
I thought we had a mover and a seconder there.
Well, was the first one to open it up for consideration? Yeah. Yeah, this is what happens when you bring back old news.
Thank you, Your Worship. My records right here, because it's been a pretty complex conversation, is that we have carried our 2/3 to reconsider, and now we are currently reconsidering the resolution that I had read a second ago, which is to accept for information and to direct the CAO.
Okay. Okay, go ahead.
So my question then becomes, if this is defeated, which again, council's pleasure, is do I then need to bring this back again to sit down with Catherine in 2024? Or because that's already kind of built into the agreement that it will be reviewed, but it doesn't give me instruction to do so. So by passing this, if you wanted to add that it's at the time of review, then that would kind of leave that door open for that to happen. I'm just saying. If not, then I actually have to come back and ask again. And I love asking twice.
So, yeah, clarify us on that. Let's make some time on this, Alan, if we can.
Okay,
So-
so Your Worship, there should be a procedural bylaw statement made here. If we do not pass this right now, which is a reconsideration, it can only ever be reconsidered once in a 12-month period. So if this fails, we can't revisit this unless it's materially different resolution. Now, with that said, I don't think the intent of this is to bind the corporation to not do their regular work on the regularly scheduled reconsideration in 2024, as said by the group. So I think those are separate in intent. So this would just prevent the chief administrative officer from really reviewing this until it's absolutely scheduled.
If it fails.
Yes, Your Worship.
Yeah, okay, if it passes, it's move on as previously requested, that that be negotiated, that conversations commence and it be enter in ideas in the negotiation process. Okay. Okay, all right. Okay, last call for questions. Does anyone need this motion reread? It's no problem.
Yeah, I would like it reread and I would like a recorded vote.
Alan, at your time.
Absolutely. So, Your Worship, the resolution tabled is that the report reviewing the Glencoe Agricultural Agreement with the Southwest Middlesex be received for information, and that council direct the chief administrative officer to negotiate with the Glencoe Agricultural Society toward an alternate agreement option. And this will be a recorded vote.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead at your leisure.
And I apologize for being redundant in the statements, but as before, the process is councillor left to right from councillor's view with the mayor last. The first councillor in question will be Ed Myers.
Yes.
Second councillor Joel Haggett.
Yes.
Third, Counselor Martin Vink.
No.
Deputy Mayor Mike Schuldice.
No.
Counselor Don McCollum.
Yes.
Counselor Mark McGill.
No,
Counselor Amy Choi.
No.
Mayor Alan Mayhew.
No.
Your worship, the resolution is defeated.
Yeah.
Finally.
Okay. Correspondence and petitions, there are none. Unfinished business, there are none. New business. None has been, the chair has not been advised of any. County council and conference updates. Fourteen, announcements council. Perhaps I can lead off. I think we would be amiss not to mention that on August 23rd, we had this devastating rain. And I would just like to advise council and our citizenry that we fully realize the significance of that extreme rainfall, the damage it has done and the inconveniences that it has caused. And I certainly want the electorate to know that our staff have been working very diligently on that with all departments, Morrill, and I'm sure Rec is in that the conversation as well, that we are extremely concerned about it. And moving forward, we certainly want to put mitigations standards in that will not handle a rain like that, regardless of what we do. But I can assure you that staff have their eyes wide open, that though this was an action of our previous month, it is still being talked about on a regular basis among staff. And we will certainly stick with our community and do whatever we can to assist those in need. Okay, anything else, Mark?
thank you, Mayor Mayhew. I hope I'm not jumping the gun a little on this, but Councilor McCollum and I sit on the 4 Counties Transit Committee, and we've been waiting for a new bus to come for a very long time, and it is coming very soon. And I think the old bus has got around 400,000 kilometers on it, and it's about 8 years old, and it's just been hanging together while we wait for the new bus to come, because it was like a whole lot of things kept getting, the date of delivery kept getting put back. Southwest Middlesex is the biggest user by far of the 4 Counties Transit bus, and you probably all see it around town, taking people to the drugstore, the grocery store, doctor's appointments, take them down to Newbury Hospital for various things, adult day program, or to get their blood tested or whatever. So it's a good service, and it's really the only public transportation we have in Southwest Middlesex, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So, and there will be a report coming to council soon.
Okay.
About all this financial implications and everything.
Yep, thank you. Okay, last call for announcements. Seeing none. Bylaws, the bylaw is just the confirming bylaw. May I have a mover and a seconder for that, please? Councilor McCollum, seconder, Councilor Haggett. Discussion, all in favor? Carried. Future meeting, September 27th, council at 6 p.m. And we will adjourn the meeting at 3:01. Thank you very much, council and staff.